Duncan Murray swoops around the outside. Joshua Germany putting up an almighty defence. Garrett Kaler taking his second win. Stephen King for Pulse eSports makes it 3 for 3 at Orange Park. Andy Fox wins. Henry Morse makes it the double and takes another win here at Watkins Glen. Blake comes around the final corner and across the line. Jameson Huntsman has done it. Championship rival Morgan Burkhardt wins again. And there we have it. Two-time Jetta Cup champion Jake Cranston. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Racing Line for round one of the Volkswagen Jetta Cup, powered by GT Omega in partnership with VCO eSports. It's good to see so many of you already waiting and watching with us. Well, I can see you across all 4 channels that we are streaming across today. You can see we are broadcast on the Racing Line YouTube and Twitch, and the VCO eSports YouTube and Twitch as well. And I should be able to see all 4 chats at the same time. I can see Biggie Morello on Twitch who says good evening. He's jumped into the chat. I've got Robbo on YouTube who said Eric is going to win today. We've got an Eric Mannenveld fan out there already, the Dutch driver. And Benario says hi, exclamation mark, on Twitch. Also, it's good to see you getting involved already. We normally hit around 100 messages, so be sure to be chatty with each other with all of tonight's action for round one of this 10-round season. We kick off in the UK. Donington Park Racing Circuit is where we are at. I'm your commentator for today, Jack Johns, and of course for the season I will be here with you. And let's have a look at what it's looking like. So they are in practice right now, 45 minutes practice to kick off the day, 36 minutes in, so I've got about 10 minutes to give you as much information as I can for the start of the season. If you want to let me know audio-wise how I'm sounding, can you hear the engines? Can you hear a little bit of music and hear me okay, so that we can have no problems during the stream, of course. We can see Donington from afar there. I'm glad those of you have joined us this early. Let's have a look. This is what our season schedule is going to look like. So last week we had our media day. That's where we got to see the team liveries for this season straight away. We met the teams, we met the drivers, and of course we'll go through that again kind of today as quick as we can. Round one is tonight. It's Donington Park before we head over to Brands Hatch and then Zandvoort, and then we've got the American leg and the Oceanic leg, we'll call that, at the end, with 2 break weeks in between. But you don't want to see that. Who remembers? No, not kill, I'm afraid, Biggie Morello. No, not kill. Who remembers our little flight path? We can't go through the season calendar without seeing the journey that we are going on across the world. And have a look at this for fuel efficiency compared to our last journey for the RLTC. So the flights look like this. We kick off in Alton Park. We went to Donington Park. We take the truck down to Kent for Brands Hatch. We then fly over Ryanair style over to Zandvoort. It's then a break week, and in that break week we can fly thousands of miles to Lime Rock Park, have a quick drive down from Lime Rock, which I think is in Connecticut, down to Summit Point, and then all the way across America down to Laguna Seca, and then a little short drive to Long Beach before our next break week after Long Beach there in LA. We then fly over to Japan, and then we have a triple header. We have Twin Ring Motegi, drive to the other side of Japan for Okayama, and then of course we fly south to Australia for our finale at Oran Park. And that's what it looks like. 18,000 miles travelled across the world, virtually, of course. Because we are not actually flying, but it's fine, it's fine. Also, and I don't want to use this, I don't want to use this and you expect it every race, but because we've been here before in Season 2, we have this animation making a return. Just have a look at Donington Park, UK. This is the circuit we're racing today. 3.14 kilometres, 3 sectors in total, 1.95 miles around this track. It's one of my favourite circuits, this. There are 2 main overtaking zones. It's turn 1 and into the final chicane, the speed trap going into the final chicane, the fastest point of the circuit, the speed you carry out of turn 8. Established in 1931, 10 turns in total. You can see there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 in quick succession. 8, and then 9 and 10, the chicane. Now, I wish I'd made those animations for this season, but genuinely I've forgotten how I did it. We will see today's Donington one, and we won't see it again until we go all the way to Oran Park, which is our final round. It'll be a nice finale. Anyway, where is everybody at? We can see a load of people in the pits. There's 5 minutes left of practice, and your order is on the left-hand side of the screen. Currently, Goldwing's Dan Downing is fastest in practice. Something that he was a little bit frustrated about, because he's annoyed that he's done it in practice and not in qualifying or the race. But he's up there, and he's 300ths quicker than last year's champion, Jake Cranston, who is out there on track in the number 1 car for Masters of Talk. There he is, the bright orange one. You cannot mistake Masters of Talk. There they are. Last year's teams champions, and Jake Cranston, of course, taking the crown. His rival last season, Morgan Burkhard, is sat in P3 currently, about half a tenth behind him. It's very close. He's actually being towed by Frogleap Juiced Racing's Jameson Huffman, who is a friend of his, even though they are in different teams. I've just seen a message on the side of Morgan's car. Can I get a closer look? Have a look at this on the side of the Project Dynamic car there. Cranston 4-3, it says on the side of Morgan's car there. That means, well, like I said, he's a 2-time Jetta Cup champion. Can he make it 3 in a row? We've had some rule changes this season, which could stop that from happening, but Morgan Burkhard was his championship rival last season. Stephen King, his championship rival before that in Season 1. Morgan was actually leading the championship at phase for Season 2, but then in the last 3 rounds, things just started going wrong, and Jake picked up the pace, and unfortunately Morgan ended up finishing P3 in the championship, with Stephen King ending up in P2, I think for the first time in the season, right at the end. So, it's going to be tight, but that big rule change, previously in the Jetta Cup seasons, the sprint race, the first race, which is half the length of the feature, was worth half the points of the feature race. Now, that was big news because it was harder to race in the sprint race because you start in quali order, so all the fast ones are at the front, and so on and so forth. And then in the feature race, the top 12 are reversed, and you got double the points for the results. Now, both races are worth the same amount of points. And that means, for example, we have to keep talking about Cranston because he is the champion. But for example, I believe he had a couple of moments in some sprint races last season where he ended up down the order. But because of his speed in the feature race, it didn't matter too much because he would climb his way back up and still get those double points, which is why he ended up being champion, of course. This time round, the sprint race is just as important as the feature, and it's going to really mix things up. On top of that, we've got a load of new drivers, and the pace has increased massively. We've got Eric Manentveld jumping over from the RLTC, the Dutch driver. Someone said that Eric is going to win, and I tell you what, it's not out of the question with him up there in P4. It's an insane pace for the Street Casuals car there. We've got Joshua Germany, Stephen King for Pulsars eSports in 5th and 6th, respectively. They will be aiming for at least the team's championship this season. Raywee TV says hello on Twitch. Biggie Morello says hopefully that means people will drive a bit more carefully. They have to drive more carefully than in the RLTC because the touring cars are a lot more robust than these Volkswagen Jettas. These Jettas having the old damaged model still is just, and they're very fragile, so any touches could be potentially meatball, and that's race ruining. But yeah, hopefully they'll drive. They're not going to drive more carefully. Come on, this is Volkswagen Jettas. They are going to kick off. They are going to kick off. They always will, and this track is going to prove it. Ace Car says, regards, Giga Driving Racers. William A. Dame says, let's go. Is this quali? No, we've got 2 minutes left of practice, and then the 8-minute quali will begin. Is Verstappen in this race? No, he is not. Verstappen is not in this race. Although, I mean, if he wants to come on down, then please let him, because it'd be interesting to see where these guys compare. Demolition Derby Baby says, Nick's Key. Yeah, well, that sounds familiar. It might end up being that way. Goodstudge says, let's go. Freddy here says, Malthron. Ace Car is just popping off in chat. Well, with you guys in Twitch chat, there's going to be no problem with reaching 100 messages, I am sure. Where was I? David Corpus is another one. Perhaps a surprise speed, because Lurchus Gaming had a poor season in the RLTC. Now, that's not mugging them off at all. But David Corpus right now is in P8 on a field that is separated by a second down to 30th place. Now that's impressive. The whole 30 people within a second. And in fact, if we extend that a little bit further, we've got 33 people within 1.1 seconds. Caraday at the moment letting the team down 1.3 seconds back. And Sebastian Holmichael, the 35th driver, currently not showing any time. I think he has just got into the session. We are missing one driver still, and that is Henry Morse for Street Casuals. That will be a crying shame for them, because in 30 seconds quali will start, and I believe it will close. Fion Smith says, hi Jack, hello, good to see you. It's been a while. I'm not going to be able to read all of Malferon's, Ace Cars, and Rowie TV's messages because they're going so fast. I can get us to 100 right now, just say the word, boss. It's okay, you'll get there naturally. We've got a long stream. I'm not reading the short view back to the past. No way. Anyway, qualifying's about to tick over, and we're going to see what these guys can do any second now. This is the crazy bit. I love it when quali starts, because you'll see the pit lane. There'll be a mad dash out of the pits. Who's going to be first? Here they go. Let's turn that music off because we've done our intro now. So look at them all. Here they go. 36 drivers, 35 drivers, because I don't think Henry Morse made it in time. And away they go. That's the Team 12 cars out in the front there. You saw the high-vis and red-coloured cars there. That's Martin Wallace for Zero Forks Given. Alejandro Caraday was one of the first cars out, and he was down at the back. Avavoom says, let's go ZFG. Malthron says, DRS train. Yes, there will be DRS trains in this. I need that track map because I want to see who is out in front. It was definitely a Team 12 car. Here they are. Very easy to spot these guys. That is Dacoba Lopez. He was the first one to make it out on track, and Dan Blake currently sat behind him. This is his teammate. So Dan Blake is getting the tow at the moment. You can see the speed they reach and what gears they are in the bottom right there. And it looks like Lopez is actually letting Dan go. So that's interesting, because I thought one of them was going to give suck to the other. Nixie says, I'm just punching a hole. But let's stay on board with Dan Blake. He'll be the first person across the line. He's not going to be the quickest, and I'll tell you why. Because he's the first person, he's the only one not getting slipstream, and he's going to commit to it. So you come over to the left-hand side of the circuit towards the pit exit line. You have to cross that to really open up this turn one. You can see him go down the gears into fourth, 100 kilometers through that corner. He had to actually hesitantly press the throttle there on the exit. You want to be nice and smooth, but this is his first lap, and tyres take at least 2 to 3 laps around Donington for some reason to warm up. Not sure why. Coming down the hill at 180 kilometers an hour, get right over to the left. Brake nice and early for this on cold tyres. Quick downshift to fourth and back up into fifth for Dan Blake there as he exits nicely and did not 1x. A lot of people will 1x there. Ace Carey says Apex is lava. Will there be a season 2 of this series? This is season 3, Rowie TV. We are in our 3rd season. It's just begun, round 1 out of 10. And of course, well, it's just grown in popularity, which is great to see. And of course, I don't like talking about it so early, but season 4 is probably going to be a likely thing. I've missed out half the circuit there. We're going to go down the back straight. When will season 4 begin? I mean, the last one was 294 days ago. I don't think it's going to be that long, but it is worth the wait. Into the chicane. This is going to be dangerous for a lot of people during the race because of that. Expertly demonstrated by Dan Blake. If you hit that sausage curve too much, it really throws your car off. And that was exactly what I was going to talk about, so thank you, Dan, for demonstrating. In the race, if you hit that curve like that, it's going to be a nightmare, especially in a train of 35 cars. But Koba Lopez behind Dan goes with a 119.0 straight to pole position, followed by David Corpus for Lurchus Gaming, currently in second. Austin Farr in third for Street Casuals. Gregory Otley for ZFG. A strong showing again for Greg, an independent driver from Season 2. You want an instant replay of Dan Blake? Fine, let's have a look. This is what it looked like from off board when he look at that, 2 wheels, bounced over to the other sausage curve and off the track. There There you go, ace card just for you. And then Greg Otley actually followed him off, so I'm not sure how he got a lap time on the board when he went off the track like that, unless he, well, I don't know. That was Greg. Oh, it was Martin Wallace. Martin Wallace went off the track, not Greg Otley. That is why. Let's go back live and see what is going on. With so many cars, it's hard to say who is on a lap in this little train and who's just letting people over. Jake Cranston doesn't want to be part of this train. I'll tell you what trend we are going to see regularly, and that is win it or bin it going out by themselves. They waited last time in Media Day. They tried it, and it looks like they've done it again because these three are all on track by themselves. Win it or bin it, always been strong contenders. We've got Andy Fox in the lead of this train at the moment. John Bailiff is behind him, who is going to be looking for sure to fight for the championship this season. We said that last time, and it didn't come to fruition, and we hope it does for him this time. We're going to have a few people fighting for that championship this time. I think both seasons previous ended up being two-horse races, really, with two people shining above the rest. This season, I don't think it's going to go down like that. As I see, Joshua Germany has gone to pole position for Pulsus eSports. 2 tenths quicker than Austin Farr, but that's just been beaten by Morgan Burkhardt, who's now in P2. The Project Dynamic cars all together on track as well. But they've got Meatball Motorsport in front of them, who weren't very fast in practice. Sebastian Holmichael actually joined in the last 5 minutes, so he hasn't got much track time. So Project Dynamic in a bad place for qualifying, if you ask me, because they've got to get past those 2 cars now. They're definitely quick enough to do so, but Morgan Burkhardt 300ths behind Joshua Germany in P2. Alexander van der Walde, the Dutch driver, the team leader for Project Dynamic there in P3, and that is Stephen Burns for Win It or Bin It in P4. Arthur Thurtle. Project Dynamic, in terms of teams championship, is going to be very strong. Currently 2nd, 3rd and 6th in qualifying with 3 minutes to go. Pulsus, on the other hand, you've got Joshua Germany up there in 1st. Pulsus were looking strong, and Stephen King just goes fastest. So I wonder if they swapped over the tow game. They're towing each other. That's a 1-2 for Pulsus at the moment. Timu Toika not feeling very well, the 3rd driver for Pulsus eSports. Currently, I think he is out on track. He's out there by himself, but he is trying. He's got the flu, he said, before the day started. He didn't get much practice in. He is feeling weak, but we won't let that hinder him. He's out there to get some points on the board to start his season, and hopefully he'll be better and stronger for next week and come back and show what he did in Media Day. He was right up there in Media Day in the top 10, which is what they'll need if they want to compete with Project Dynamic. Alexander van der Walde, I looked away for 2 seconds. He was in 3rd, and now he's down in 9th. Cranston, Murray, Fox, Downing and Wallace all slotting in between. Cranston obviously having a good showing. Duncan Murray's got to be happy with that. P5, a 10.5 off of pole position for Duncan Murray in Goldwing. Andy Fox, a 10.5 off of pole position. Oh, could you imagine? A 10.5, 6 places. 6 places. The gap currently down to 29th. Dan Thornton, the number 74 car, is 1 second. So if you can get within 1 second of pole, that's fine, but you're going to be anywhere between 29 cars. At the moment, Sebastian Holmichael is learning the track, I'd say, rather than qualifying. You've got all 3 Meatball Motorsport cars down there in 32nd, 3rd and 4th. Andre Majorek for ORD, though, has just shot up to P8. Alexander van der Walde constantly going down that order. I tell you, he's a big shock. Early on in the session, Adekoba Lopez was right up there, so he's going to be learning everything he can. I think he's quite new to the car, is Lopez. He has driven it before, but he is, well, you can see in his number plate, he is 8K. He's been tweeting a lot, and it's been great to see. It's a great addition to the series so far. And I wonder what he can do from 24th place. Greg Otley was up there at the early stages of qualifying. He's now down in 23rd. Ika Lequay for Lurch's Gaming is up there in 22nd. Jameson Huffman, a late starter, drifts down the hill. That's going to block Morgan. I think they've given up because there's 1 second left, to be fair. Because there is, yeah, there we go. Qualifying has ticked over. How do I join this series? Says skirt. We're already planning as well. The secret society living underneath the Vatican has to invite you. No, I don't know what's going on in chat because I need to go through the grid quickly because there's 36 cars, and if anyone readies up, then I miss my chance. So Stephen King and Joshua Germany start on the front row for Pulsus eSports. Morgan Burkhardt and Jake Cranston, your 2 championship rivals of last season, are there in 3rd and 4th, so they've still got the pace. Duncan Murray and Andy Fox on the 3rd row. Downing, Majorek, Wallace, Alexander van der Walde, David Corpus and Stephen Burns round off your top 12. Arthur Thurtle, Manintveld Farr, Ray Oliver, the Australian driver, Bailiff, Agar, Dan Blake and Van Olst round off your top 20. Ridley, the other Australian on the grid. Huffman, Lequay, Otley, your top 24. Lopez there in 25th. 26th for Henriksen, Amundere, Depart, Hughes, Thornton, Askew, Toyka in 32nd, Carraday, Weisfanger, Holmacher and Henry Morse did make it. He's there in 36th, so he's going to start from last. Keep an eye on that man because he is no slouch. I can't believe he's made it in at this phase because he's going to have done no practice since Thursday. So one to watch, maybe for bad reasons. We will find out. Where is the start? Why can I not see these cars? There we go. How should we start? How should we start? How should we start? Not like this. Not like this. It's got to be this one, I reckon. Or this one. This is a nice angle. We'll start from this angle. Feel free, guys, on Twitch who have said how to join the series, by the way. Have a look at joining the Racing Line Discord to stay up to date with how to join any more seasons. The RLTC will probably return first, the Touring Car Championship. But here we go. Race 1 is about to begin. The sprint race. 5 lights are on and away they go. The Pulsars cars on the front row. Morgan Burkhardt looks like he's got a better start than Stephen initially, but Stephen moves straight over for Joshua Germany to give him some tow as they all come filtering down to turn 1. Here they go. So 10 laps the sprint race, non-stop, no pit stops for the sprint. You want to keep it clean, and that is Dan Downing straight away showing how he bottles it in the start of a race because he's gone from the top 10 down to 36th place, and it doesn't look like many other people were involved in that. I think Andre Majorek ended up going off track for some reason. Didn't quite see what happened to Dan, whether he was touched or if he just had an issue, but Morgan Burkhardt is now up into P2, ready to chase down Stephen King, and there's more filtering down at the back. There's people gone off in the old hairpin. That's Kyle Ridley off into the wall. There's cars off everywhere. Sam Van Olst has gone off track. We can't do too many replays this early because they're all close together. Stephen King still leads. Burkhardt, Cranston, Germany, Murray still in the top 5. Martin Wallace up in P6. He's up 3 places. Arthur Thurtle has gained 4 places. John Bailiff is up 5 places as they all come up towards the blind right-hander up and over the hill. And now look at this. Ready? This is where they all are. Leading the way is Stephen King. How many cars can you fit on this straight? We've got a couple of people moving over. That is a slowdown for 2 cars. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Indeed, let's go racing, says Nixie in chat. Thanks for the best commentary, says Will A. Dames. Thank you very much. I'm trying to keep up with chat. I'm trying to keep up with the race. Patrick Dupart has had an absolute nightmare. He's down in 36th place, which is a crying shame because he done well in qualifying. Someone else has just gone off there. That's Dan Downing again, off at the chicane. He's having an absolute mare for his first sprint race. Sam Van Olst is down there. So Goldwing showing typical Goldwing things in round 1. It's hard to say, but who's carrying the team? It's Duncan Murray in top 5. Andy Fox and David Corpus going down the order. Henry Morse is up. Where is Henry Morse? I've just seen his name up somewhere. He's going back down, so I think he's had a slowdown or something, but he was up right up there from last place. Greg Otley there. Andre Majorek is going down the order as well. He's off into the wall at the old hairpin. So many people going off down that hill, and we're already on, well, past halfway of lap 2 of 10. It's so hard to know what's going on. As Ray Oliver's round, he's had contact with someone, with Jesus and Mundere. That's Timu Toyka in the 46 car. That looks like a meatball. He's crabbing in the Pulsar's car. We said he wasn't feeling very well. He's going to feel even worse after that. That is going to be, well, it'll be a crying shame, but he's got the feature race to try and climb back up, so it's not the end of the world. Dan Thornton takes that position away. Toyka will be coming into the pits for sure. Stephen King still holds the lead. Joshua Germany setting purple sectors there in P4, chasing down Cranston. Duncan Murray still holding on in P5. Martin Wallace P6, Arthur Thurtle P7, and John Bailiff is already defending. That's from Austin Farr in the Street Casuals car, who is up into P9. And Stephen Burns for Win It or Bin It behind as well. So Win It or Bin It's got a couple of cars. There's Toyka into the pits. We said he was going to have a meatball. It looked like his car was crabbing, and that is, well, you could see it. Dupart is now 12 seconds down, which is weird to see as they come down the hill towards the old hairpin. The top 5 now breaking away. Cashing it says, Alora, there is a broadcast race for this car. Someone needs to notify Skirt about this league. I think he's already in the chat. He looks like he was trying to, well, he wants to join, but he's unfortunately missed out on the entry for this season. Maybe if a space opens up at some point for one of the teams. But these 5, look at this, showing a breakaway from the rest of the field. If you look at the numbers on the left, this is Donnie Henriksen and Brandon Hughes going at it as they go up the hill now. This is on board Hughes' car. Donnie Henriksen somewhere on his inside. He gives him the room to the apex, and Donnie Henriksen should appear on your right-hand side in the Masters of Talk car. What does that say on the number plate? Easy 69420. Cheers for that, Donnie Henriksen. Number 88 car moves up into P16. Brandon Hughes lifting off, trying to keep it safe. Look at that. Nice and cautious in towards the chicane for Brandon Hughes. Is he going to hit the curb? Not as much as Donnie Henriksen, but Donnie's carried the speed through and actually pulled away as we go on to lap 4 out of 10. Rod Askew kept himself clean. Here he is for Team 12. He is now fighting. That's Kyle Ridley trying to work his way back up after an earlier excursion. Jan Weiswanger, the number 43 for Meatball Motorsport, is also involved in this. Kyle Ridley's looking towards the inside of turn 1. Can he get it done? He's going to try and brake later. Rod Askew's on the outside line, which is the preferred line here, but it looks like he's understeered a little bit wide. Kyle Ridley shuts the door and moves up another position. Andre Majorek down there with Dan Thornton now. I wonder if he's got damage. Greg Otley's there ahead of Sebastian Hall. Michael Ray Oliver. Yeah, Andre's letting them all through. That'll be Dan Downing trying to come through as well. Let's have a look and see if we can find any replays. But we've got Morgan. We need to find Morgan Burkhardt's pass for the lead on Stephen King. I don't know if Stephen would have put up much of a fight, to be honest, because he has always been reasonably cautious in a good way. Henry Morse has had a crash, but I found the overtake for the lead. Here it is. So Morgan Burkhardt just getting his nose to alongside towards the chicane. This is not, I said it was an overtaking zone. It's a risky one, and yet Stephen King backs out, plays it safe, slots into P2 and races for another day. Jake Cranston gives him a bit of a boost on the exit. What happened to Henry Morse on this replay? Is he going to move over on someone into the braking zone? Ooh, is he going to just brake late into Andy Fox? Oh, there it was. So it looked like he did move over, potentially. That's what happens when you don't practice. Let's have a look at what happened to Ray Oliver. So he's serving a slowdown there. He's been driven into the back of by Jesus, and that's where Timu got his meatball. That will probably be a penalty for Jesus and Vindere, to be honest, from first glance, because Ray was out the way on the left going slow, and he just got driven into the back of. They were warned about not slowing down for incidents. What happened to Andre Majorek at this point, going down the crane of curves? So that's where Ray's trouble started. That would have been a slowdown, and then Jameson Huffman just drives straight into the back of Andre. So that looks like a potential penalty for him. This is weird driving. Hopefully they will get used to it. What happened to Andy Fox? Oh, that's the later half of what happened to Andy. Henry Morse there, side by side with Alexander van der Velde. Very weird contact there for Henry on the rear. Really span his car round. Does he rejoin safely? He does. And there's already cars off. Let's see if we can find out what happened there. This will be the last replay before we go back live. Oh, it was Arthur Thurtle, Andy Fox. Oh, and then that's where the Lurchers car got collected. Oh, that's David Corpus, who was strong in qualifying. Let's go back live and catch up with what's happening at the top. This is what it looks like. Morgan Burkhardt 3/10 in the lead, but they're all still fighting, and that is Joshua Germany trying to pass Jake Cranston there for P3. Did you see that into the old hairpin? Well, this is what it looks like from the rear of Jake Cranston's car. He's got Joshua Germany trying to gain that position. We're on lap 6 of 10 in the sprint race. He's got Duncan Murray behind him as Josh. We've got one more race after this, guys. There's a 10-minute break in between race 1 and 2. And then in race 2, it's just about twice as long, and there's a pit stop. And the pit stops are ever so important, and we reverse the top 12. So currently, Jameson Huffman is in P12, starting on pole for the next race. I think it's 19 laps the next race. And they all start with a gallon of fuel. Arthur Thurtle and Martin Wallace are also battling it out side by side. They keep swapping places. Who's going to come out on top here? We've seen this mirror image before. Martin Wallace, though, is well ahead into the chicane. Round the outside. I think he's defending the position from Arthur, but at the same time, he has kept it pretty much side by side through that chicane. He's in the lead of this train. He's in P6. He's got Thurtle, Bailiff, Farr, Burns, Agard, Huffman, Lopez, all in a train behind him from 6th down to 13th. That is reverse pole position they're fighting for, that down in 13th place. If Lopez can pass Huffman, then he'll put himself in pole for the next race. Behind that is a bit more of a gap. We've got Amundere and Van der Velde going side by side on the exit of turn 1. Now it's starting to settle down. We come down the crane of curves. We've got Weissfanger and Askew also going side by side into turn 1. That's Weissfanger making a move. Carraday and Weissfanger up into 22nd and 23rd place for Meatball after starting near the back. Eric Malinfeld's having a quiet race for Street Casuals. He was fast in practice. He's down in 18th at the moment. Brandon Hughes will be over the moon. But these guys are still kicking off as Arthur Thurtle looks to have got the move done on Martin Wallace, but you can't. Oh, that's going to... You won't be happy about that. It looked like that door shut a little bit late from Thurtle, but Martin Wallace is still well in this race. It's a sweaty race for ZFG, says Avavoom. Kitty Cat says this race looks like a smash derby. You say that, they are still all in the race. I mean, at the start, you can see that there's 2 trains formed, so maybe that second train was involved in crashes. But at the front, you can't say it was a smash derby when they're all still surviving and all still fighting for those strong points. There are points all the way down the grid. You can see the top 5 as Jake Cranston is going side by side with Stephen King into turn 1. Stephen's going to try and hold it around the outside. It's normally the better line. These two have come to blows before. Everybody remembers Summit Point from round 1, but they're still side by side going down the crane of curves. Who is going to come out on top of this? Stephen King has the inside for the left, but this gives Jake Cranston the inside for the right. Is he going to be able to hold it together on the exit? He can't run him off, and look at that, Stephen King's going to have the speed, and so is Joshua Germany, who's going to come through. The teammates are going to work together, and Stephen King keeps the position. Jake Cranston might end up losing to Joshua Germany for Pulsus Esports, who does slot into P3. Stephen King up into P2 still, and Jake Cranston immediately tries taking it back up the inside. What a move from the 2-time champion. Joshua Germany back down to P4. Duncan Murray helpless, just watching it up ahead. He's hoping for a crash as Arthur Thurtle is still trying to catch up to this train, but all the meanwhile, Morgan Burkhardt is now 1.3 seconds in the lead, and he's starting his championship strong with a 60 points for a win, 55 for second and 50 for third. There's 5-point difference between each podium place, and that is going to be massive if they can get it for both races. It's very rare that we see a double podium, or a double win, that is. So, well, we'll see what happens. Oh, look at that, MoveBot, race spot timing. Do we have timing? Have a look at that. I don't know what that is. I didn't post that link, so be careful with that. 1.2 seconds back. Cranston and Germany still fighting for P4. This is Rowdy Man, says Chavez TV. Love it. It is very rowdy, and it's good to see so many of you watching across all 4 channels. Thank you for joining us. Whether you're watching on VCO Esports YouTube or Twitch, or the Racing Line YouTube or Twitch, we're on lap 9 of 10. It's only race 1 of the season. Axel says, I support Fat Timu 46. Unfortunately, he's got the flu today. He's down in 32nd place after a meatball of no fault of his own. We saw a crash down in the crane of curves early on in the race, but it's not over because the next race is twice as long. There's a pit stop involved. It'll be interesting to see where he climbs up to and if he can get his strength back. Jake Cranston looking like he's trying to set up a move there on Stephen King. Let's go on board Jake's car. In fact, let's have a look inside. This is what he kind of sees. And let's have a look at the dashboard. What speed are we going? He's not going to send it into the chicane on the last lap, I would have thought. Look at the twitch on the brakes there as he throws it into the chicane. 4th gear, tries to get the best exit he can. Stephen will just be trying to hold on to this, but all the meanwhile, Joshua Germany is sat behind Season 2 champs Masters of Talk. He's going to be trying to throw Jake off his game here. He went to have a look there into turn 1. Did you see that cheeky little move towards the inside of T1? Duncan Murray's a little bit too far behind. John Bailiff is right behind. This is Arthur Thurtle in the Project Dynamic car. There's going to be races all over the place, but I'm not sure who's going to make the move first. We're on the final lap. Who do we watch? Because they're all fighting. We've got Ridley and Otley are fighting it out down in 29th and 30th place into the chicane. There's contact. And look at Greg Otley around the outside. Timu Toika's going to get a double move on the exit. He's going to move himself back up into 29th place as they all go onto the white flag. This is all for the bottom end down in 30th place. Look how many cars are still fighting. Joshua Germany not close enough to make a move. John Bailiff is looking close though. He's side by side with Arthur Thurtle. He's round the outside of this right-hander. He's going to give him the run up the hill, but Arthur can't shut that door. Austin Farr for Street Casuals is going to try and take advantage. John Bailiff trying to hold it around the outside. Can he get it done? Oh, it's a bit of a dodgy line, but can he get a better exit? I don't think he can, and Austin Farr, ever the opportunist. Look at him getting his elbows out. A bit of argy-bargy as they go up the hill and down the back straight. Down towards the chicane. Great shot of a building, but Morgan Burkhardt comes through the chicane and he's going to take your first win of Season 3. The Jetta Cup season has begun. Morgan Burkhardt wins, Stephen King in second and Jake Cranston on your podium. All 3 championship leaders from previous seasons have just finished on the podium to kick off the season. Joshua Germany is there in P4. Duncan Murray, he will be absolutely over the moon with that. He is in P5 for Goldwing after his teammates had an absolute nightmare down in 23rd and 24th, struggling to keep it clean. Then Arthur Thurtle, Austin Farr, John Bailiff couldn't quite get it done. He ended up losing a position, but it was worth a try. He would have rather tried getting the overtake done than sitting there for position for sure. Stephen Burns had a great race there for Win It or Bin It. Martin Wallace up in P10. Jerry Agard is going to be starting in pole position for your feature race, as they all bring their cars back to the pits. Masters of Talk going to be starting on pole. And now your 10-minute break begins. Now I can catch up. Where were we? Iceman, number 46. Timu has got a lot of fans in chat. This is good to see. Kakula says, I support Timu. Spang, 21, says, I support Timu. Iceman. And to think, he messaged me saying that the flu might get the better of him and he might have to sit out the first round. And all of you have shown up to support him. I don't think... It doesn't matter how ill he is now. He's got to show up for the rest of the season. And get some points for Pulsus, because Pulsus need to fight for that team. They're my team. They need to fight for the team's championship. But at the moment, it's going to be... I don't know who's leading the team's championship after that first race. We'll have a look at the results in a second. Nixie says Timu. Craig Williams says Timu. Sindre Setsus, I recognise that name, says Timu also. Tide says Wallace is going to blame his hips for losing those positions. P10 for Martin Wallace is nothing to laugh about, though. Moobot is going to get it, I'm telling you, says Nixie. No need to shout. Warning. Take a breather, Jack. Amazing job. I will take a small breather. I'm not going to go anywhere. I'll keep you company. Let's have a look. Do you know what? I should have tested this. Don't know if the result... Oh, there they go. The results do work. Let's just bask in the top 18 of this 36 car grid. So, there we have it. Morgan Burkhardt takes your win by nearly a whole second. Stephen King and Jake Cranston cross the line virtually bumper to bumper, with Joshua Germany there as well. A little bit further back, Duncan Murray for Goldwing, Arthur Thurtle, Austin Farr, John Bailiff, Stephen Burns and Martin Wallace round off your top 10. Huffman, Agard and Lopez up into 13th. LeQuay, Blake, Henriksen, Manitveld and Alexander van der Velde. Got to say, if you look at the coloured stripes on the left... The only team I can see 3 colours of in this top... Oh, tell a lie. I was going to say Project Dynamic, but I think I can see 3 orange stripes there. That is... Masters of Talk are possibly leading your team's championship right now. Avavoom says, are sub-chat and non-sub-chat separated? I don't see a lot of the chats you mentioned. I can see all 4 chats in one window. So remember, we are live on Racing Line YouTube and Twitch, and VCO eSports YouTube and Twitch. So anyone that is talking, I'm trying to read your chats as well across all 4 channels. Avavoom, I'm guessing you are on the Racing Line. I think a lot of the Timu fans are probably watching over on VCO eSports. And anyone else that hasn't said hello yet, jump in. Jump in and say hello. I can see all of you. Tide says YouTube chat as well. Where were we? Yeah, so Masters of Talk, I think they're leading the team's championship initially. We've got one more race to go. Let's have a look at the rest of the results. How did it look after 18th place? Brandon Hughes up in 19th. He'll be happy with that. He had Jesus Amundere right behind him. Andy Fox, Caraday, Downing and Sam Vanolst, both involved in crashes. Henry Morse only made it to 25th, also involved in crashes. Andre Majorek involved in a crash, down in 26th. Rod Askew didn't. I didn't see him get involved in a crash, but he did have a damaged side. And he's down there in 27th, but he did gain. That is a gain for Rod Askew, I'm sure. Ray Oliver saw him have a crash, down in 28th. Greg Otley saw him have a crash. Dan Thornton, did we see Dan have a crash? There was an ORD car. Patrick, we definitely saw have a crash. Kyle, we saw have a crash. Corpus had a crash. Weisfanger had a crash. Timu Toyka ended up in 35th. So something happened to Timu there at the end, because he was up. He was up in the top 30. He's down in second to last now. Sebastian Hallmichael in 36th place. Will we ever find out what happened to Timu Toika? It's a shame. Mark Draper says hi on YouTube. Thank you for popping in. Chavez TV says, I know. Who thought the Jetta could be this good? Nixie says, funny enough, I have a TRL Ferrari Silverstone lap guide on another tab at the moment. Much appreciated. Hobby_Raccoon says, hi, we're here to cheer on old man Wallace. Martin Wallace in the top 10. Well, hopefully, the second race, based on previous trends, this is not going to happen. I was going to say, hopefully the second race calms down at the start. Because 36 cars is a lot to keep an eye on there. But in previous fashion, I have a feeling that the second race normally gets a bit feistier. But then again, new drivers on the grid, have they all learnt? They've all learnt about themselves a little bit. Come on, you've all learnt how it works. You've done 10 laps. The next race is 19, I believe. They're all having a rest. Is anyone out on track? We see Donny Alpha Henriksen over there. Got Alday Cobra Lopez behind the building. He's going to appear. Love that car. Never going to stop mentioning it. Team 12. Lazy name is Team 12. we knew there was going to be 12 teams on the grid because we limited it to 36. All the teams filled up rather quickly, and then basically I lost what I was I lost what I was saying. We didn't rename Team 12. Team 12 stayed as it is. Jameson Huffman asking, why am I starting second? It says here on the timing screen that you finished 11th and the top 12 are reversed. So Jerry Agard starting on pole, which we did mention at the end of the race actually, so that sounds right to me. I don't think iRacing has had an issue. Yuan Shilin says Timu is my pick also. He's got a lot of fans. Timu has brought everybody out. Mark Draper says, come on, number 70. That is Arthur Thurtle for Project Dynamic. He's got a fan out there. And Yuan Shilin says, our team's randomised on driver selection. Now, do you know what? Actually, they're not. So, as much as we are here for fun and games, for these wonderful diesel machines, we are 3 seasons deep now. The previous 2 seasons, we started with random teams in Season 1. Some of those teams carried over, in fact, most of those teams carried over into Season 2 with some driver changes. Some new teams joined. We had some independents. This season, because of what we did in the Touring Car Championship, we went for a full grid of teams and no independents. And again, all of these teams that you see have actually carried over in some form or another from the previous seasons, or already existed but did race with us last season. So they've brought some teams in also. In terms of randomising them and me mentioning that we were here for fun and games, it's crazy that now we're 3 seasons in, we've got 36 drivers, we had 60 apply. The driver market is a real thing. It's really strange because we're not really signing contracts over here, but at the same time, it genuinely happens. It genuinely happens. Stephen King, Joshua Germany and Henry Morse, for example, have raced for Pulsars for the previous 2 seasons. Henry Morse decided to jump ship and create Street Casuals with Austin Farr, who raced for Down Under last season. Eric Manningfeld was a new signing for them. It meant that Pulsars eSports, my team, had a seat free, and I tried poaching some drivers to fill that seat because we want to fight for the team's champion. Pulsars eSports won Season 1 as a team. Masters of Talk won Season 2 as a team. We ended up going for Timu Toika, the Finnish driver. And I'm confident in that pick. I think he's had a bit of a mare in race 1, that's fine, but we've got a long season ahead of us, and I believe that he can do this. But it's going to be an interesting season, that's for sure. You should start making the last team to sign up. Has to be Team X12. Interesting, I see some drivers who race under the same organisation in Serious Racing join different teams here. Yeah, so the teams are completely made up. So Team 12 was the one that was left with Lopez, Blake, and Rod Askew, and then some of the other drivers Just joining in. We've only got a minute to read this grid, so I'm going to need to jump over to what the grid is going to look like for race 2. The sprint race, the final race of the day. This is your grid. Jerry Agard, Huffman, Wallace, Burns, Bailiff, Farr, Thurtle, Murray, Germany and Cranston, your top 10, with King and Burkhardt starting on the 6th row and 11th and 12th. We then go to Lopez, Lequay, Blake, Henriksen, Manenveld, Van der Velde, Hughes, Amundere, your top 20. Fox, Carraday, Downing and Sam Van Olst round off your top 24. Morse, Mayerek, Askew, Oliver, Otley, Thornton, Ridley, Dupart, Corpus, Weiswanger, Toyka and Holmichael round off your grid to fill out those 36 places. What can Teemu Toyka do from effectively second to last? And what can Jerry Agard do starting on the front row for the feature race? We've got 15 seconds before they go. Here come the lights then. So it's already happened. They're all ready to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. And away they go. And the feature race is about to begin. They all will spin off the line. You get the normal puff of smoke. And Jerry Agard, I think, is going to get passed by Jameson Huffman, who seems to have had the better start of the two. 19 laps has begun. Stephen Burns has got a strong start as well. He couldn't decide who to follow. Jerry Agard down into P2. Huffman up into the lead. As we see some people, look at this, 2 by 2 as they all filter through turn 1. And that is more like the survival we wanted to see. No one has gone off yet as they all come down the crane of curves. Still side by side as John Bailiff and Martin Wallace, Arthur Thurtle and Austin Farr. Big old wide shot of them all coming down the hill. Who is going to go off at the old hairpin? There's normally always one. And look at that. That's more like it, boys. 36 cars all surviving so far the first lap. Jameson Huffman leads the way. Remember, the top 12 were reversed. So effectively, if you want to base it on speed, you could say that the top 12, well, 12th is the slower. Oh, Morgan Burkhardt's got a slowdown. He's moved over and loads of people are going to pass him. That is going to be that's going to be a massive hindrance for Morgan. That's a shame. Austin Farr going right off towards the grass. And where's that drone shot as they all don't go behind the building. Don't go behind the building. That is not what we want to see. There we go. Jameson Huffman in the lead. And they're all coming through down towards the chicane. 3 wide towards the chicane. That is Andy Fox, Henry Morse, Dan Downing, Jesus Amundere, and Austin Farr has ended up back there as well, as they all now go down towards the main straight across the line to end lap 1. And I'm fairly certain that all 36 cars have survived. Now that is worth a round of applause in itself. Do you know what? Anyone can crash from now. I can live happily. They all survive lap 1. And there goes Ray Oliver, just as I say it. Big drift round turn 1. Hopefully he got no damage. All still in the pink numbers on the left, pretty much, apart from Jameson Huffman, who's got a second lead. John Bailiff, Agard's lost a load of places here. He was in P2, and somehow he's just got tumbled down the order. I wonder if he's let a load of people through, or if he really has just lost a load of places. I'm trying to see if I can find a replay of that overtake, as Burkhardt and Fox are racing it out down here side by side. Fox around the outside, Burkhardt on the inside as they go towards up the hill for the blind right-hander. Fox is on the outside still. Oh, he's cutting it close to Morgan Burkhardt there on the inside. He's going to get the better run. He's trying to lean on him. And there we go. Morgan Burkhardt slots into that position. Hallmichael and Hughes at the back there. Hughes is off. He didn't want to be caught there doing that. That's not what he wanted. Henry Morse is having a better race of it this time. He's up to 19th. He's getting 6 places from the start. And Dan Downing is at it again. He's not going to be enjoying himself. He was bigging himself up. He is having a good time in practice. He went fastest in practice. And both races he's found himself down the order. Dan Downing the order. Jake Cranston passing Jerry Agard. Why? I wonder if Jerry got a slowdown, because he got a lot of people past him. He's probably just going to let Jake past as a teammate. And Joshua Germany, I think, is going to try to take advantage as well. He's got his nose in there. Joshua Germany has. Yeah, and that's the problem with letting people through. Is you end up look at that. That's a third car going through. That's Ade Koba Lopez. That's why you need to be careful here in this series, because you've got so many cars in a train that a move like this with Joshua Germany around the outside of Jake Cranston, I think he's making that move. I don't think Jake is making the move on Josh. I think Josh just went around the outside. I could be wrong, but Martin Wallace is now going to have to try and defend from Joshua Germany. Look at that. Josh Germany slots up into P6. Martin Wallace up ahead. Is Jake going to break late on the brakes? He's got Lopez around his outside. There was a bit of contact there. Slides it into the chicane. Lopez survives. They all survive and they come down the main straight. Jameson Huffman's still in the lead. There's some more contact back there. Henry Morse is trying to gain some positions on the Lurchus cars of Amundere and Lequay, who are together in 17th and 18th place. Arthur Thurtle and Stephen Burns. He's got up the inside of Stephen Burns for P3 up into the lead. Now exiting the chicane, we've got some more battles side by side. Morse round the outside. He uses Amundere into turn 1. Andy Fox. Oh, he's gone off as Henry Morse. He's on the grass, and Austin Farr's somewhere involved in that as well for Street Casuals. Sam Van Olst has survived the start. He's up into 22nd. Hasn't made that many gains. Dan Thornton, Dupart, and Downing are now fighting down here. Henry Morse and Jesus and Mundere are still side by side. Round the outside of the old hairpin. Henry Morse up into P18. That battle was still going on, but these guys are still fighting. That is Martin Wallace, he's the cork in the bottle again. The number 20 ZFG driver in P5 right now, with Joshua Germany, the number 4 car, Adekova Lopez 34, and Jake Cranston, the number 1, all behind him, trying to get that position. Who is going to come out on top? Martin Wallace is now 2.5 seconds back from Stephen Burns, Arthur Thurtle, and John Bailiff. Stephen King is going to get frustrated here. I think he's got a slowdown. He's moved over to the right, unless he's just trying to get in cool air and see where his braking point is. Lopez down the inside into the chicane. Oh no, that's going to end in a night. Oh no, it didn't. It didn't end in a nightmare, but someone's gone off. It's Dan Blake and Duncan Murray. And Henry Morse again involved in a crash. It's going to be interesting to see how his race went. Austin was concerned about him showing up. Someone's gone into the pits already. That's Rod Askew, so he's decided to pit. You can't pit before lap 5, and now he's in. You can only pit before lap 5 if you had a meatball, which is fair enough. So now he could fill up and go to the end, could Rod Askew. So he's going to try and make some gains. Greg Otley and Andy Fox lean on each other as they go into the Craner curves. That was a little bit naughty from Andy, to be honest. Henriksen side by side with Morgan Burkhardt. Down into the old hairpin, the number 2 round the outside of the number 88. I think he's going to get that move done. He's up into P12. Alexander van der Velde next on the list. That's a teammate. I wonder if they'll fight, or will they work together to try and catch Stephen King, who's on the back end of this train. Agard and Germany. Cranston now survived. I'll tell you what, Lopez really made that move stick into the chicane. Interesting stuff. I actually want to see a replay of that, because that was a good move. Let's have a quick look at some replays. But Sebastian Holdmichael has had an issue here. Not sure how at that point, because he's alone. Oh, Brandon Hughes spins. Okay, not Holmichael's fault, that would have been. So, unfortunate, just caught up in a small accident. And then here is what happened to Dan Downing. Henry Morse on the inside of Fox, brakes as late as he dares into the chicane. And Downing just slides it round. It's almost a repeat of race 1, I think. Nice rejoy. I want to see that again. Have a look from above. They all come down. Henry Morse does brake later than Andy Fox. Down towards the chicane they go. Dan actually has to move out the way of Austin. He goes onto the grass to avoid an accident there. But someone, I'm telling you, someone comes flying through this area at an alarming rate. It's a juiced cart. Oh, the meatball cart bounces off the curb, and it's Ray Oliver. Okay, so it was the meatball car attacking the inside curb. We said that was going to happen. And then that's where Ray Oliver got involved. Martin Wallace is going to go around the outside. So that is what happened there. Where is Teemu Toika? We said to keep an eye on him. He started second to last. He's up into 22nd place in the Pulsar eSports car. So he's making gains. We're on lap 6. Mika Lequay has had an off track. Eric Mannenveld appears to have had an incident. Let's have a look at what happened to Eric. Duncan Murray defends. Oh, this is what we saw. So they went 3 wide. Duncan just moves Mannenveld across Alexander van der Velde. Ooh, great skills from the Dutchman. And then that is Andy Fox, who just drove straight into the back of Henry. So that is what happened there. Clumsy from Andy there, I think. But also clumsy from Duncan Murray after finishing quite high up in that first race. Henry Morse we just saw crash. I think that might be it for the action that was down the grid. Everyone else seems to have been fairly safe. Equalaquay has had a couple of off tracks, which is easily done around here. Now we've got more people coming into the pits. Let's have a look at what the pit lane strategy looks like right now. So, you can see your top 30 drivers there and how they look. Ridley, Fox, Downing and Askew have all pitted. Askew actually pitted on lap 4, it's showing there. I'm sure it ticked over to lap 5. Be worth looking at though, because he might have had a meatball. Number 20 in 20th place is Teemu Toiker now. He's actually fighting Caraday for position. So let's get rid of this. Greg Otley and Maninfeld side by side as they head towards the chicane. Every time I cut to this camera, it's behind the building. I don't know why. And we've got some more drivers coming in. We've got some big drivers coming in now. Cranston's in, King's in, Henriksen is in. And there goes Greg Otley as well, dives to the pits. Teemu Toiker, though, is he going to make a move on Alejandro Caraday into turn 1? This is on board with Teemu Toiker and what it looks like from the meatball car. Is that a bowl of meatballs on his number plate? First time we've seen that for the Alejandro's car. Lap 8 of 19. Approaching the halfway phase as we see more and more drivers in the pit stops now. Teemu playing it safe, lifting off as he goes down the hill. Arthur Thurtle is actually in the lead of this race. And I did not see that move happen. Jameson Huffman was so far in the lead, I didn't think we'd see that. Let's see if we can find a replay of how Arthur Thurtle took the lead of this race. Here it is. It's into turn 1. Is it going to be a send? Looks like Huffman just lets him have the inside. Arthur Thurtle late on the brakes. Glowing rear brake discs, and that was your move for the lead, and that is Stephen Burns in P3 right behind him. Remember, people have already pit. Nixie says, is there a pit window? Pit window. After lap 5, everyone is allowed to pit. Adekoba Lopez is coming in now, unless they're involved in a crash and they get a meatball. And it stops people from basically, some of the quicker guys could potentially, if that rule wasn't there, some of the quicker guys would come in on lap 1, they'd fuel up for the rest of the race, they'd stay out in free air, and then they would potentially run away with the race later on, or everyone would pit on lap 1 to counteract that, or start from the pit lane and just fill up there. It would look silly. So we got the lap 5 rule in there, so that they actually have to race a little bit before they get to the pit stop phase. Stephen King is up into 16th at the moment. Cranston is up the road. Toiker is coming out of the pits now. I think Toiker might have made some gains in this pit stop phase. Lap 9 of 19. Joshua Germany hasn't come in yet, so he decided to stay out. He's ahead of Jerry Agard right now. Jameson Huffman still following Arthur Thurtle for Project Dynamic, who's up 6 places. Any big gainers? Andre Mayerek is shown as 16 places gained in P10 right now. I don't think he's stopped. He's got Maninfeld for company behind. Toiker and Burkhardt are fighting by the looks of it. Oh, that was close. Toiker holding his line. Burkhardt slotting in behind. This is for P23 right now. What are the pit stops going to look like at the end of this? I've got absolutely no idea. Moobot is showing racespot.tv timing screens. If that shows the pit stops, then you need to let me know. I can have a look at the pit strategy again, but it doesn't tell me until they've completed a lap. Bailiff is showing as the first driver on this list to have pit. Which means you would think that Bailiff is in the net lead of this race, currently in P8. Stephen Burns has come out behind him, who I believe has just picked because he was up near the top. Germany's now in P3. Toiker right behind Dupart and Downing. They've all pit as well. Caraday, I think, is the only one in that train that hasn't pit. He's now in the pits. He's just come out, so he's lost all those positions. Maninfeld hasn't pit, I don't think. Stephen Burns has pit, so we've got to wait for him to cross the line. So your top 6. Shows a NASCAR race. Oh, then don't click it. Because this is not a NASCAR race. This is the Jetta Cup. I'm not posting the movement thing. Anyway, Morgan Burkhardt making moves here. Climbing his way back up. Teemu Toiker's on the inside line, which is the weaker line at Donington. Because the outside line always seems to be quicker. But if you're going to go side by side, as some of the top guys are coming in now. Arthur Thurtle, though, staying out. As is Austin Farr and Sam Van Olst. So these 3 have not pit yet. Where is Jerry Agard and Jameson Huffman going to come out? This is one of the ones to watch, because Jameson Huffman was in the lead of this race, and John Bailiff comes through on the inside and goes down into turn 1 and passes Jameson Huffman. So John Bailiff is in with a strong shout of taking the feature race win here, because that was definitely a place for the lead. John Bailiff has pit. Stephen Burns is in P2, also has pit. We could see our first 1-2 in race 1. Win it or bin it are going to claim a 1-2 here if this doesn't change. But where is Arthur Thurtle, Austin Farr and Sam Van Olst going to come out? Have they got the right strategy here? I'm not even sure what lap John pit. Let's have another look one more time. John Bailiff has been on these tyres for 4 laps. He pit at the same time as Martin Wallace, Corpus and Thornton on lap 6. So, has he pulled a blinder and pit at the right time? Because he's currently showing as in the lead, as Lopez and Jake Cranston are going side by side. Oh, they need I thought that was the chicane again. I was going to say they need to stop doing that. It's scary stuff. Joshua Germany has come out in front of Cranston and Lopez. He'll be happy with that, but now he's going to defend for his life. Stephen King down in P12 at the moment. Cranston defends to the inside. That was very late from the champion. But Arthur Thurtle, they're all in the pits. Arthur Thurtle's on his way out now, but where is John Bailiff? There he is. He's gone past and he takes the lead of the race. Stephen Burns is going to be through as well into P2, and now Arthur Thurtle in P3. Jameson Huffman P4. Joshua Germany P5. Austin Farr and Sam Van Olst are going to come out in P12 and 13. Sam will be happy with that compared to his result in race 1 for sure on lap 12 of 19 as Majorek just passes Ridley into turn 1. Well, they're side by side. The battle's not over yet. Manintveld has got to pick someone to push. Who is he going to overtake? Eric Manintveld for Street Casuals Racing. Carl Ridley for Frog Leap Juiced Racing. Andre Majorek for ORD, who looks to be ahead in P15. He's going to keep that position, chasing down Ika Lequay, the Portuguese driver in number 84 for Lurch's Gaming. Austin Farr and Sam Van Olst battling it out, probably getting in each other's heads by using voice notes across the channel, which we can't hear, thank God, because we don't want to hear what they're saying to each other, especially during those crashes. Stephen Burns coming under pressure now from Arthur Thurtle. This is what it looks like from Arthur's onboard. Is he going to have a look into the chicane? He thinks better of it at this point. Oh, there's contact, and that was Arthur braking very late, and that's a potential. It's clumsy. We give out penalties for that sort of stuff. But that is going to cost. Where has Stephen Burns come out? Because he's going to get a slowdown as well, unless he's already served it. But he's going to come out in P4. Now, Joshua Germany will be happy with that. Jameson Huffman might be happy with that. John Bailiff won't be happy with that because his cushion is now gone. 2.1 seconds between Arthur Thurtle and John Bailiff with 6 laps to go. Burkhardt and Dupart fighting it out here for P21 and 22. Burkhardt round the outside, holding him tight. Dupart making it. One of the new drivers is Patrick Dupart, the only Polish driver on the grid. Another nationality here for the Racing Lines Volkswagen Jetta Cup. Can we just admire, please? Have a look at those flags on the left-hand side, because they are beautiful to see. As these guys are all kicking off. Joshua Germany is fighting hard. I think Stephen Burns is being swamped. Leans on Koba Lopez, who tries to open up this corner. Well, Koba Lopez was leaning on Burns. Not sure which way round, but Joshua Germany is up into P4. Meanwhile, his teammate King is in P10, Toyka in 21st. Dan Downing is going down the grid again. What is going on with Dan Downing's day? Jake Cranston on the inside of Stephen Burns into the chicane. Oh, Stephen Burns gets the exit and he keeps the position from Jake Cranston. That's more like it. Jake had it too easy with races before, and now look how many people are fighting him. People are not letting him through as much as they used to, and it's good to see. The only person that let him through was Jerry Agard. He ended up losing 4 or 5 positions because of it. But now look at Jake. He's going to go around the outside. Patrick Dupart is pitting again, which is a crying shame. How is Jake Cranston going to get this done? Look how close he is. Oh, he's going to lean on him there, going down into the hill, into the Craner curves, over to the left-hand side, into the old hairpin, cuts it nicely, gets a good exit. He's going to give him a nudge. And then he goes straight to the left-hand side. He's going to keep that outside line. Can he get the run fully? Can't actually see Stephen Burns. He's there somewhere on the right-hand side. Is he going to emerge? Jake Cranston has just turned into the corner, so he's got the move done on Stephen. the Scottish driver for Win It or Bin It. Now Jerry Agard has been left behind. He was going to have a look at the inside of that final corner. Dan Downing and Brandon Hughes fighting it out back here. Duncan Murray's going to pass Brandon as well. The two Goldwing cars moving up. Majorek is fighting LeQuay, I think that is. Yeah, on the outside, and Kyle Ridley's going to try and come through. They all go down 2 by 2. Hurrah, down towards the chicane, where the drone cam is meant to show a much better view than that building. I'm going to keep trying it, because I'll get the same shot as I did earlier one time, maybe, one time. 3 wide, down towards turn 1 then. For these three, Manintveld, LeQuay and Ridley. Someone's coming into the pits again. Is that Timu Toiko? He was having a good race, and he's coming back into the pits. I don't think he would have had a drive-through. They've got 24x limit before they get a drive-through. So if he has, I think he's underfueled, because he would have... Oh, no, he's still going. It was a drive-through, so he must have reached 24x. Interesting stuff. But your leader, still 1.2 seconds out in front with 4 laps to go, is John Bailiff. Coming under pressure from Arthur Thurtle. Jameson Huffman still trying to hunt them down. And Joshua Germany, I think, is losing touch with this fight as Stephen King goes round the outside of Stephen Burns. It's Stephen versus Stephen. And he's going to gain that position up into P7. I'm going to call Stephen King the sleeper because I kept saying how far down he was. And now he's climbed his way up into P7. Alexander van der Velde round the outside of Stephen Burns. I don't know if Stephen's got damage, but he's absolutely being mugged. He's on the compromised line at all times right now. And he's being mugged by everyone. Martin Wallace is going to try around the outside of the chicane as he tucks in behind Van der Velde in the Project Dynamic car. Into the chicane he goes. Martin Wallace does survive that. Jerry Agard is now going to come through in the Masters of Torque car. Sam Van Nolst is going to try and squeeze a gap that isn't there. Typical fashion, but he didn't do it. So he has backed out. Maybe he has learnt, and now he's going to make it 4 wide down towards turn 1. Austin Farr, Agard, Van Olsen Burns 4 wide into turn 1, and Van Olst is going to come out on top. Austin Farr around the outside. Jerry Agard in the middle. Stephen Burns on the inside. What a move from Sam Van Olst up into P10 with that, and Stephen Burns just losing ground, constantly on the opposite line to what he should be, but he's got no other choice because he just can't get back onto the racing line because they're fighting side by side, and all the drivers are just picking a way through. Jerry Agard's now going to get the run on this outside line. Look, Austin Farr thinks, actually, no, I'm going to push Stephen, or is he going to push Jerry? Who's he going to pick? Pick someone to follow Austin. He's not going to pick Stephen now. He's going to the outside line with Jerry. Stephen's on the compromised line on the inside. Jerry's going to get a better run. Austin Farr's going to follow him through. And now Stephen Burns is on the compromised line for the next right-hander because Austin Farr's going to carry the speed around the outside. And there we go. Stephen Burns has finished his misery down into 13th place with now Andre Majorek behind, chasing him down. But he's got about 3 seconds to catch that gap. Who hasn't got 3 seconds is John Bailiff. Half a second between them now. Arthur Thurtle looking for his first win in Jetta Cup history. A new driver to the season. Teammates with Morgan Burkhardt and Alexander van der Velde this season for Project Dynamic. The number 70 car. He's a pro in MX-5s. Is he about to put his stamp on the Volkswagen Jetta? We've got 2 laps left, and John Bailiff, a seasoned veteran in this car, trying to claim, believe it or not, I believe only his 2nd win in Jetta Cup history. His first one being inherited from a penalty. So this will be his first outright win if he can hold it. 3 attempts between them. It's going to be close as Ika LeQuay is showing us out. He's in the pit lane. So many people in the pits. I wonder if this is all 1Xs or 4Xs from contact. It shows they should have been more careful. Joshua Germany still fighting Ade Koba Lopez here for P4. He's having the time of his life. I think, you know what? If I know that boy, and I think I do, he is squealing right now. Squealing with sweat, trying to hold on to that P4 position. He's got 2 very rated drivers behind him. And look at the switchback that Jake Cranston has got down towards the chicane. If he has an overlap there, Joshua Germany could be in trouble. I fear contact ahead as they head down towards the chicane, and Joshua Germany brakes later, gets it turned in. Look at that for a defense. There was contact behind as Lopez tries pushing Jake through. They've got to be careful with X's because I think we've seen a number of drive-throughs at the back of the field with everyone else is involved, but this is bringing Stephen King into play as now Jake Cranston looks towards the outside of turn 1. Joshua Germany can't brake later this time, and now he's on the compromised line unless he can get a better exit as Eric Manintveld comes into the pits. Let's go, Joshua, says Nixie. He has to slot in behind Jake Cranston, and now he's going to try and get that move done. back, I reckon, as Arthur Thurtle is looking extremely close to Jonathan Bailiff for the lead. Arthur Thurtle round the outside of this corner, gives him the inside for the next one, but John Bailiff, no slouch, is going to try and cut him off. He does cut him off, and up the hill they go towards the blind right-hander. John Bailiff defends. He's taking no chances. Moves back to the left and open up the corner. Absolutely covers that off. Lap 18 of 19. This is your fight for the lead. 22 versus 70. John Bailiff versus Arthur Thurtle. It's a British one too, with Jameson Huffman, the American driver, in P3, 2 seconds back. John straight over to the inside to cover the inside. Arthur Thurtle round the outside of chicane, side by side towards the chicane, and John Bailiff does hold on to the lead. Arthur Thurtle now gets to switch back towards turn 1. Arthur Thurtle, can he get the move done? Turn 1, the outside line is strongest. We've seen it so much as they go down towards, and now for the first time Thurtle leads the race since coming out of the pits. John Bailiff breaks later and holds on to the lead. This is your fight for P1. Joshua Germany has lost out to Koba Lopez back here. He's now down in P6 with Stephen King behind. They're not going to let each other through. It's too early in the season for team tactics like that. They'll be happy with P6 and 7 if they can both survive. I can see people in the pit lane again. That's Morse and Corpus. But your lead battle is where we're looking. Jameson Huffman is not going to have time to catch them. We're on the final lap here at Donington for our opening round of Season 3 of the Volkswagen Jetta Cup, and John Bailiff is still trying to fight, and Stephen King and Alexander Van der Velde have just passed Joshua Germany somehow. But now look at this. Arthur Thurtle round the outside of the next corner. Can he keep his nose there? He can't. John Bailiff is now in a pickle right now. What is he going to do? Is he going to get his elbows out towards the final chicane? He moves towards the inside yet again. He's going to lose it. Is he going to lose it though? He moves over. He squeezes Arthur Thurtle towards the grass. They're going to lead each other towards the final chicane. John Bailiff breaks as late as he dares. He hits the inside curve. Arthur Thurtle gets the switch back. They lean on each other on the exit. Down towards the line. John Bailiff and Arthur Thurtle are side by side. 6,000s, 3,000s across the line, and John Bailiff takes the win for round 1. He takes his feature race win, his only win, his genuine win in the Volkswagen Jetta Cup, and Arthur Thurtle 3,000ths behind. And we've had a side-by-side finish for round 1 of the Volkswagen Jetta Cup, and I expect to see many, many more. We've seen it so many times when people get mugged on the line. Henry Morse was the one that done it every sprint race last season. Jameson Huffman, shout out to him for Frog Leap Juice Racing in P3. Jake Cranston, last year's champion, there in P4. Ade Copa Lopez ended up passing Stephen King, I think, there for P5. Actually, no, I think it was that order anyway. Stephen King P6, Alexander Van der Velde. But Jonathan Bailiff up 4 positions with the perfect pit strategy. He just ended up there. Unbelievable stuff. Sorry to Richie Pink, who said, man, that mic is so loud. Nixie says, what a race. Wow, that was incredible. What a finish. GG, says Mark Draper. What a finish, says Chavez TV on Twitch. Mark Draper on YouTube. Jonathan Bailiff, number 22. Win it or bin it, and win it they have for the Brits. Here he goes. This is going to show how happy he is. Now, remember, they're front-wheel drive. So this is what the donuts look like in the Volkswagen Jettas for some reason. I mean, I'm sure iRacing will get on it at some point with a random fix, but look at the wheel. The wheels don't move. Don't I read out all the it's fine, it's fine. I know I get pretty shouty when I get excited, and I don't think the finishes get much more exciting than that. And we've seen it regularly. I'm not going to make you all go watch season 1 and 2, but if you have spare time and you want something on in the background, do it. I highly recommend the RLTC as well, because that was an insane season. And like I said earlier, even though it's virtual racing, the stories are very much real, and the RLTC was a dramatic finale. It went down, they did 36 races or so. It went down to the final, and I think we're going to see something similar this season. Where are we at? Let's have a catch up on chat. We've got some interviews to do, so don't go anywhere. We'll speak to some of the drivers. No need to apologise. Turn the volume down a bit. That's fine. Much love from Puerto Rico. Thank you. Nixie says just spinning so fast they seem stationary. That would make sense. Exciting. First time watching this series. It's been fun. Pog ending. How did Germany get down to P10? You just ended up losing positions down towards the end. I don't know if you got a slowdown. I'll tell you what I've just forgotten. Whilst I load up the results, I do this every time. Oh man, it was bound to happen. So not only did I leave music on throughout the race, I don't know if you can hear that, but I also forgot your driver of the day vote, which looks like this. You can vote your driver of the day. Let me post that link for you, and we can have a look at the results. That link should come through. Yeah, it's gone through to all 4 chats. You can pick any driver you want, and whilst I have a look at the results and speak to some drivers, we will announce the driver of the day for this. So much was going on. We're getting back into it. First round, it was bound to happen. Left music on, forgot driver of the day. Next time, next week, for Brands Hatch, by the way, GP layout, we will not do that. You will help me remember. Feature race results. Here we go. This is what it looks like. John Bailiff showing us 2,000ths there on the official results. 0.002. Arthur Thurtle. Something coming so close to a debut win. Insane for Project Dynamic. Jameson Huffman, Frog Leap Juiced Racing, the American driver. Jake Cranston nearly making it an all-British podium. Probably in respect of our dear Queen Liz, of course. It was the funeral today for Queen Elizabeth II, for those of you that don't know, but I don't know how you don't know, because, it's all over the world. So there we go. John winning it for the Queen, I'm sure. Let's see if he gives her a shout out in his interview. Ade Koba Lopez there for Team 12 in P5. Stephen King P6. Van der Velde P7. Martin Wallace with a P8. That's 2 top 10 finishes for Martin, if I'm not mistaken. So he'll be happy with that. Sam Van Olst in P9. A good recovery for Sam after a bit of a nightmare start in round 1. Race 1, Joshua Germany P10 in the end with a slowdown, I believe, will be the only reason for that massive drop. Agard, Farr, your top 12, Burns, Majorek, Ridley, Burkhard, Gregory Otley, and Donny Henriksen P18. Donny Henriksen posting some good videos of Media Day, actually. Some, VR drone video type thing. I hope he does that for the rest of the season, because they look good. Caraday P19, he'll be happy with that for Meatball Motorsport, because they looked nowhere in practice. They were down in 35th, 34th, 35th, 36th place. So P19 he will be happy with. Dan Blake P20, Dan Thornton 21st, he'll be happy with that. Rod Askew should be happy with P22. Dan Downing will not be happy after being fastest in practice and finishing down there in both races. Duncan Murray will have mixed feelings after finishing P5, I think, in race 1, and now down in 24th place for race 2. Brandon Hughes P25, Andy Fox and Timu Toyko 26th and 27th. Patrick Dupart, Maninfeld and Ray Oliver down in 30th. Henry Morse 31st. A disappointing showing for the Street Casuals driver. You could argue that Pulsus were going to be upset if Timu didn't turn up today with his flu illness, but he did turn up. He got some points for the team, and Pulsus's old driver, Henry Morse, seemed to have had a bit of a nightmare. It'll be interesting to see who's on top in the championship out of those two after this round. David Corpus uses a Mundere for Lurchus Gaming, and Sebastian Holmichael in 34th, Nicola Quay, Lurchus Gaming, and Jan Weiswang on Meatball Motorsport there as well. Alejandro Caraday. So, for a bit of backstory, we've got 4 Lurchus drivers technically on the grid, because there were 2 Lurchus teams in the RLTC. The 4th driver is Alejandro Caraday, who's driving for Meatball Motorsport, which means Meatball Motorsport are going to be ahead of Lurchus Gaming Team in the Teams Championship, because look at that result for Alejandro Caraday compared to all 3 Lurchus drivers down there in 32nd, 33rd, and 35th. Timu said King had him at gunpoint. Well, that's good to hear. King's motivating the team. Some points are better than no points, and I'm glad he showed up. Let's do some interviews before I check those results. We'll go back and have some slow-mo footage of the start. Let's hide those results. Not sure who I'm going to speak to first, to be honest. But wait a second. Let's hide all of that. Alejandro is the new sensation. Says for Guelthio, change team, better results. We'll never forget when he nearly won the race though, and then binned it on the last lap. Hashtag never forget. That was an amazing day as well, by the way. I make fun of him for it, but that is I enjoyed that race very much so. What am I looking for? I'm looking for interviews, and I was going to look at the results for the Driver of the Day votes. And I think I agree with what I am seeing. So let's go to Discord and start talking to some people. We've got a couple of people in the interview waiting room. I am going to bring up our race winner. Where is he? Where is he? Jonathan Bailiff. John, better than that Bailiff, he's called. We're going to bring him into the interview box first. John, feature race winner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. You got to be happy. We saw the donuts, the attempted donuts.
Yes. I mean, I'm going to not swear, but about something time, I'd say.
Am I right in saying, I said this to the audience who's watching at home, I am right in saying that was your first official race win with no gift?
Yes, because the first, or the only one before that in the Jettas was because of a penalty. And I think that's haunted me ever since.
It has haunted you ever since. So it was back in season 1 between Charles Rainford and Jake Cranston. A crash at the end, and then they got 5-second penalties, and then boom, you got your win. You then had a whole season winless, but you had podiums, right?
Yeah, I had a few podiums, just threw it away in good positions.
And then here we are. So talk to me about because 1 minute you weren't in the race in terms of what we were watching, and then the next minute the pit stop phase happens, and you were the lead. We spotted pretty early that you were the leading car who had pit. And we watched both times people like, I think it was Jameson Huffman first. He came out way ahead of him. And then it was Arthur Thurtle and Austin Farr. And you came out ahead of both of them, all in the pit stop phase. You just got it right today. Was it a strategy call with what was going on around you? Was it just the perfect amount of fuel put in? How did it happen?
Oh, to be honest, I was talking to Stephen Burns, and he said that Jake had pitted. And he was sort of, I think, P5 or 6 at the time, so I thought I'll leave it a lap or so, and then I caught the back of Jameson, and I thought rather than just sitting there and sort of backing off a little bit, just might as well pit and then see what happens. And then I came out a good chunk ahead of Stephen, and he said he was just behind the other two, which gave me a bit of hope that I might get a gap. But then it was stressful at the end, sort of just trying to not bin it.
Yeah, I mean, Arthur was no slouch at the end there. He closed up a 2-second gap, I think, you had after the pit stops. So he definitely hunted you down and caught you. And then off side by side, it looked like it was all over at the chicane. You broke as late as you could, which was fine. You defended it, but then I think you hit the inside sausage curve, bounced out towards the left.
Bounced a bit.
And then he nearly got the switchback. A bit of contact on the exit. All survived. Have you spoken to him?
And I did, yes, on the chat, and he seemed to enjoy the race. So it's a good debut for him.
It's good, absolutely
fighting for the win.
It's a good,
and it's .002 at the line, according to iracing.
That's what I was going to say. So it's a good first official win for yourself and a debut for him. 2000ths. I don't think we're going to beat that this season, to be honest. I mean, we have. Don't get me wrong. We've had close finishes. I think we're never going to beat our closest one, which was Ika and someone else, which was 0.
Was that Morgan?
Yeah, I think it was Morgan, which was 0.000 for third place. But that's probably one of the closest win finishes we've had for sure. So tell me, obviously this is the new season. What's the racing like? We've got a couple of new drivers out there. They are in the top mix. Did we have any issues out there today from your point of view, from your race?
I think there were a few incidents that I benefited from them in the first race, and I know that the races didn't go well for Andy. He was qualified well, but then got taken out in the first one, and then I think ended up getting a drive through in the second one because of having some incidents. But I think it's just learning who we're racing, and hopefully people will get a bit better as we go on.
Saw quite a few drive-throughs, which was surprising, because 24x has always been the limit, which is normally quite high. That's like 6 contacts allowed, or 5 contacts and a number of off tracks. Did you see many drive-throughs? It looked like there were a few on my screen.
The only one I knew about was Andy's.
All right, okay. Might have to just speak to them. Well, I'm going to try. We're going to interview someone else now, John. But congratulations on your win. And is there anyone you want to say thank you or hello to before I let you go?
Well, thank you to the people who are watching. I think I've got a friend, and I think my sister's watching as well. So thank you.
You're welcome. See you later.
Cheers.
There goes Jonathan Bailiff. I've forgotten. Do you know what? So much has happened. I forgot he won race 1. It was Morgan Burkhardt. So we can bring him in. Let's speak to our race 1 winner. Morgan Burkhardt, you started off the season strong with a win. How are you feeling?
Mixed bag, honestly. Race one was really good. Got good qualifying. Played the draft well, and then race 1, I got a good start. Got around Josh in the first lap, and then kind of trying to feel out how Steven was, and ended up getting around him. And I think the only thing that kept me in front was that I just kept doing the chicane just that little bit better, and so that everything he made up in the draft, I would get back in the chicane every lap. So that kept me in front, and then him and Jake started to fight, so I kind of just cruised home and took the win. So that's starting off on the right foot. But race 2, I did about everything wrong that I could have done wrong.
Well, it's nice and early to do it this time rather than at the end, so that's a good thing. We saw your little message pretty early on the side of your car, Jake, for season 3. You two often write little messages for each other on the cars, which is quite funny. Where did you finish? You finished P16 in the end in race 2. So tell us.
Yeah, I think so.
Was it all just battles that ended up going wrong? Was it pit stop strategy? Where did it start in race 2?
Actually, the start. I got a bit of wheel spin off the start, and I got passed by a day. And then I was like, ooh, there's a hole on the outside. I'll go and take the outside. And then realized that there was less than no grip. And I kind of had a little bit of an off, lost a couple of positions off of that. And then I was so far tucked up under somebody coming out of the old hairpin. And I got to slow down on the inside, lost like 8-9 positions after that. Was down into P22. And then I fought my way back up to 9th or 8th. And I was right behind Steven and Jake when they pit. And then I got a little bit too much rotation into the old hairpin, trying to trail brake, and got another slowdown. Ended up coming back 10th, and then I went into the pits. Got my stop right, did my fuel right. Didn't realize I was in neutral and just revved for 5 or 6 seconds.
Oh, no, you just sat there. Well, that explains
just sat there.
That. Okay.
Yeah, and then I came back out, and I was like 25th, 26th, and so I'm happy to come back to 16th.
Well, exactly. You've clearly still got the pace. You were a strong rival in season 2, and it's been a gradual process. Season 1, you're getting caught up in other people's incidents. Season 2, you had the pressure of taking your first championship, and then it sort of all just Jake did everything right at the end, and mistakes started creeping in your last couple of races. We had the RLTC, which was probably the most insane championship we've had, which you won. You are a touring car champion for the channel, and it showed today. Obviously, the pace is still up there. You're up there in qualifying. You won your first race, which is probably the harder one of the 2, some would say, and then, like you said, you've clawed your way back up to P16 with 9 more rounds to go, so it'll be interesting to see the results. Is there anyone, though, Morgan, that you want to say thank you to or hello to before I let you go and speak to one more person?
I'd like to thank my parents, of course, for supporting all of this and making it all possible. Project Dynamic for giving me the shot, Arthur Thurtle and Alexander Vanderdander for being my teammates and helping us out and all of that, and Delta Sport for supporting me as well. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that's everybody.
No worries. Thank you very much, Morgan. It's good to hear from you. See you soon.
See you.
There he goes. So, sorry, I was just reading chat. There's a picture of all the Street Casuals cars pretty much sideways. What was I going to say? We need to speak to one more person. Who shall we speak to? I think... I think it has to be Arthur Thurtle, because I believe We're going to bring him in. Arthur Thurtle, P2 by 0.02 of a second. He was P6 in the first race. If I'm not mistaken, if I've seen it correctly in chat, Mr. Thurtle, because you got the fastest lap, you are currently leading the Volkswagen Jetta Cup Championship on your debut.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that. I don't know if I'm going to get a penalty for what happened with me and Stephen.
Well, I haven't seen. Well, we'll come to
Oh,
that
yeah,
another time. At the moment, you got to enjoy everything else. We did see what happened with Stephen Burns.
It wasn't intentional. He braked a hell of a lot earlier than what I was braking there.
Yeah,
and I feel a bit bad about that.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But obviously, before any of that happens, you've had a great finish. It was a good fight with John there at the end. Talk us through your point of view with that final lap. You came out the pit stop, so there was about a 2-second gap. You hunted him down. You closed it right down, and then you had a couple of attempts, and you just kept braking that much later, and obviously missing apexes, but braking later to keep the position. And then final lap, you're heading down towards the chicane. You're basically side by side. He's broken later again. How did you work out? How did you know that gap was going to open up? That's the question.
I didn't, and that was absolutely pure luck. I wasn't intending to switch back at all. I was intended to try and take it round the outside on the first part, but he just braked so late that I dragged on the brakes a bit longer to be able to cut up the other side of him, and I ended up with a decent run. I think if we hadn't touched, I probably would have had the momentum to get past him.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. If there's no contact on the exit, for sure.
But me and John, in officials, we always seem to end up with each other as well in them.
Well, this is the thing. For some reason, this championship becomes completely different to SimLabs, because in the SimLabs, like you said, John Bailiff is regularly up there and wins quite a lot. But believe it or not, even though it's by 0.02, that's his first win in 3 seasons.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So something.
He wouldn't have been very happy if I'd nicked it off of him then right at the end.
Well, yeah, probably. But like you said, we got some. Well, everyone needs to be investigated anyway. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with the race. I'll watch back through it tomorrow. But it was a hell of a race, and everyone enjoyed the finish. We always enjoy a close finish here, regardless of what happens. And your debut as well. Do you drive? Have you driven the car much before? I know I've regularly seen you in MX-5s. But how much Jetta experience have you got?
I raced it. I used to race it loads until until about the start of this year. Then I wanted to have a bit more competitive races. Sometimes in the SimLabs, it's not the best represented, the Jetta. So I moved into the Mazda and then the GT4s. And apart from the one-off event that we did in Interlagos a while ago, I haven't actually driven it. I think I did a couple 2 weeks ago just to get back into the swing of it, and that's about it.
Well, there you go. You're going to get back into the swing of it now, because we've got another race next week. It's Brands Hatch. How are you feeling around there?
It's my local track, so I've got to win that one.
Oh, there you go. You're feeling good. Is there anyone, normally when we end these interviews, I say, is there anyone you want to say thank you to or hello to before I let you go?
I'd like to thank Morgan and Alexander, my 2 teammates. We've been Morgan set a blind in lapping Gary on the practice, so it was quite helpful being able to look at him, because I was actually quite far off pace at the start of the week. I wasn't even getting in the 18s, so it was, the 2 of them together. It was nice. It was nice having them to help me.
Well, there you go. You've got 2 good teammates to learn from, for sure, and it's not going to take you long at all. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Well, thank you very much, Arthur, for joining us. It's not next Sunday, Chavez TV. It's next Monday, every Monday. So sorry, Arthur. I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to round off. See you later.
Thanks.
What was I saying? Yeah, that's pretty much it. So every Monday, here you go. I think I can show you. Oh no! Oh, I can. There you go. Look, I can show you the calendar right there. Is what it looks like. They're all Mondays. Mondays, same time every time. Round 2 is Brands Hatch GP, not Indy. Indy would have been crazy with 36 cars. So we're going to the GP version. We then go to Zandvoort. And then we take a break. We have 1 week off. And then we go for a quadruple header of round 4, 5, 6, and 7 at Lime Rock Park, Summit Point, Laguna Seca, and Long Beach, which we haven't been to before. That's going to be interesting. Then we take another week break before our final triple header of round 8, 9, and 10. Twin Ring, Motegi East, Okayama Fall, and Oran Park, which always throws up a few surprises. And then normally, there's maybe a week or two after that final round, we do a celebration round to announce the champion, the final order, and I will join in on the race as well. Because I like being able to race the guys as well as shouting about them. So that's pretty much it. I want to thank you all for watching once again. The Volkswagen Jetta Cup, powered by GT Omega, of course. If you want some discount on GT Omega products, then use my code TRL. If TRL doesn't work, then try TRL5. Mark Draper says, are these fixed set up? Don't know if that's a joke or not. Some people don't know. You can't actually change anything on these cars, only the fuel. But the races, yes, they are fixed set up. They're all fixed to 1 gallon of fuel, so that's why they have to pit in the feature. What else was I saying? If you fancy doing strength of field races, we normally show up on Tuesday evenings UK time between 6:30 and 9:30. I say we. There's a few of these guys that will show up, but not everyone, not all 36. Mondays is enough for them. What was I saying? Yeah, TRL5, GT Omega code. You get some money off any of their products, and of course, thank you to VCO eSports, who will be providing photos of today's action. As always, you will see them for sure. And, of course, it's great to be broadcast both on their YouTube and Twitch and on the Racing Lines YouTube and Twitch. So thank you very much. I've been your host, Jack Johns. This is pretty much it from me. If I don't see you on track this week, then I'll see you next week for the next video here on the Racing Line. Peace.